Most people just don't understand how email marketing works. Email was not designed so that you could click send and a million people could hear your message. Email was designed to be a conversation between two or a few parties. If you don't know the rules, you can't win the game. The things that control your email deliverability at the highest level, the number one thing that's most important is the IP reputation. So the reputation that's attached to the IP address that you're mailing from to begin with. Step one is to own the IP address. On a shared IP, you cannot control the reputation. There's too many other factors at play. Now, depending on where you're at in business, you may or may not have control of that. The vast majority of people don't have any control of that because they're sending from some sort of a platform that's using a shared IP, which means that you're mailing from that IP address, I'm mailing from that IP address, and 100 other folks or a few hundred other folks potentially might be mailing from that IP address. And now we're sharing the reputation. So if there's people on the platform or on that IP abusing their list or not delivering well, it's hurting all of us. The next thing that's going to control your deliverability after that, beyond the IP, is your domain reputation. When you send an email from your name at yourdomain.com has a reputation that's attached to it. And these email service providers will assign a reputation to it over time based on your open and engagement rates in your emails. The one like cardinal sin that I see a lot of like early stage entrepreneurs make is that they use their same domain that they email with internally and with vendors. They use that same domain to mail their list. If you do that, then eventually you're not going to even be able to inbox when you're sending an email to your mom as an example, because the domain has a reputation attached to it. After that, you get into the basics. It's content and it's links. Content is what do your emails say? Like if you're using a term like Viagra or sexual activity or whatever, you're not going to inbox, right? We consider inboxing the primary tab on Gmail.
How do you know what the words are that you're not allowed to use? I mean, obviously there are some that seem pretty clear, but how do you know?
Spam trigger words used to be something that was like very simple 5 years ago to say like, oh, well, you can't use these words. But these days, that's not quite the case. As the AI gets more and more intelligent on these platforms, like you've probably noticed that when you're in Gmail right now and you start sending an email, it'll start finishing your sentences for you. You've noticed that, right? And how often would you say that like it finishes the sentence fairly closely to what you were about to say?
It's pretty good, man.
Most of the time.
It's pretty good. Right? And it almost always is close enough. It's not always my character, my personality. I'm like, I wouldn't normally say that, but fuck it.
But it's so easy to hit tab and just,
yeah, exactly. It's easy enough to just hit the button and keep going.
So that AI is developed from understanding like when you speak to this person, whoever you're sending an email to, what are the contexts usually of your conversations? Generally speaking, what are the contexts of the conversations that you're having when you're sending emails? So it's pulling that information in and trying to figure out how to finish your sentences for you. If you understand that, then you understand that like that intelligence is looking at the context of a conversation, not just the content of a conversation. So it doesn't matter necessarily as much about what words you're using, but in what context are you using the words. They're looking at content and links versus if you have a very high IP reputation and a high domain reputation and you have a high open rate and engagement rate with your list, you can almost get away with just about anything else. Don't take that too far, but you can get away with a lot more stuff in terms of content and the links that you have in your emails. Further up that you're optimized, the more you can get away with down below.